I've been educated as a computer scientist working in the programming language area and developing compilers for concurrent programming languages and developing technology for measuring the performance of computer networks. Then one day I have been asked to use one of my models to model biological systems, the behavioral biological systems from guys at the Weizmann Institute in Israel. And I think they were joking because I never heard before about modeling biology. But in the end, they asked me to help them, and I decided, for being polite, to help them doing this job. And after that, I was called at a workshop in Cambridge, organized by Microsoft, to explain my ideas on how to measure the performance of computer networks. And I added a slide at the end of my talk where I said that we can use the same technology for modeling biological systems. And Microsoft people start raising a lot of questions about these kind of things that I was not prepared at all to answer, because it was just, one slide saying someone is using this technology for doing this job. And I answered, let's come to Trento, where I live and where I work, open a center together and start making models of biology. And it was a joke for me, but 1 week after, I started negotiating with Microsoft for opening the center that we actually opened with an agreement signed by Bill Gates in 2004. COSBI is a joint partnership between the University of Trento and Microsoft Research, 50% each. And what we are currently doing is to work together with Microsoft to have co-developed products and co-strategies to approach big pharmas and biotech industries, providing a low level of infrastructure, which is essentially a storage in which you can store all the data you produce. So you can make versioning and history of the experiments that you perform, and an higher part in which you have this sort of interface that allow you to make models without knowing that you are programming, that connect to that data and then store back in the storage system the outcome of the simulation for further inspections and for further design of wet validation experiments. So that actually our strategy is to work together and close with Microsoft in this direction. Modeling biological systems in the past has been done by using ordinary differential equations, in which you use mainly math for doing these kind of models. And once you want to predict the behavior of those systems, you just solve the set of equations and you get an average behavior of the system. What we are doing instead is to use programming language technology and associate with any biological entity a process or a program. And then the interaction between biological entities is represented by an exchange of message between the programs that represent those entities, and as the simulation of the biological systems is a distributed execution of these agent-based systems of programs. And hence, we are approaching the same problem that mathematical people did in the past, but with very different techniques. I think that we have what I call the 4A problem for the predictive medicine, where the 4A is related to data acquisition, archiving, accessing, and analyzing. So you have a lot of technology that allow you to solve the three first A. You can acquire data by high-throughput technology, you can archive data in distributed storages, you can access data through web technologies or cloud technologies, so that these issues are solved nowadays. And analyzing this amount of data to get knowledge out of data, knowledge out of information, is a really big challenge. And this, I think, needs to have a new computational paradigms to take care of what is the way in which biological systems process information that can give back to computer science as well a lot of insights to improve the way in which we develop software nowadays. And the other big challenge also is related to the way in which you visualize this big amount of data, and hence the human-computer interaction paradigm that has been developed for the previous generation IT hardware has to be rethought completely in this new tsunami of data produced by biomedical research. And things like surfaces or KINET are the way in which we have to go to make those data easily consumable by non-computer science experts. in the next 10 years, what we will have is the genome of an individual in the clinical records for very few dollars and produce it in hours rather than in days or weeks as it is nowadays. And there will be some software that can help using this genome for personalizing medicine so that you can no more rely on statistical medicine as today, in which you provide the drugs based on a statistic done on a population that can have very different genomes, even if they live in the same place or even if they have the same diseases. And this can help reducing side effects, improving efficiency, help solving or curing diseases that today is very hard to cure. And in order to go there, we have to address the issue of usability of the tools that we have, distribution of the data and access of the data, taking also into account what is related to the privacy of medical data and to the usability of this data. And you have to be able to use elastic power computing and elastic storage in order to avoid that any institution has to build its own big data center. That is not practical at all and does not allow easy sharing of this information. I think that the main issue in using cloud computing nowadays is protection of IP, because there is still a lot of suspect on sharing data, and you know that most of pharma companies and most of big industries rely their business on protection of IP. And hence we have to be sure that this, but again, this is also the same problem that you have with personal medical data. You do not want to know that anyone knows what are your problems and what are your data. So I think that this is an issue that involves both a technological and IT infrastructure problem, because we have to provide something that can help in this direction, but it is also an ethic and governmental problem, because you have to join the two things together so that through rules you can enforce the right usage of the technology and make people available that no one that is not authorized can access the kind of data. I think that it is also important not to just collect, store, and save the data that comes from this high-throughput technology, because once you have a lot of data, it is not automatic that you have a lot of knowledge. You just have the data, then you have to interpret, you have to study. And if you think again back to the Human Genome Projects, it was possible to sequence the genome once you found the right abstraction of representing DNA with an alphabet over 4 letters. So I think what we are missing nowadays is the right abstraction for representing the dynamics of biological systems. And I think that a big effort should go in that direction. Once you have the abstraction, I think you have also the solution for addressing this huge amount of data. And then with the help of computers, you can move in a simulation-based discovery like it is done in most of the other disciplines, in astronomy, physics, engineering. Everyone is using simulation, but not yet in biology, because we do not have the right abstraction, I think. Well, you know, I started my career working on computer science, so artificial systems, and what I can foresee from that is that in some days I can maybe design, maybe produce, maybe discover some very nice technology. But now you can think of discovering something that can save lives.